channel.
Hey, you know what time it is, No Press fam? Welcome everyone to another episode of the Beatdown, the segment and channel where two worlds collide. I am your host, Class. And if you guys enjoy our content, you know what you guys can do. You can share, you can like, or you can subscribe to our channel. Moving on. Currently, this particular character debuted in September, I believe 2009, and we figured why not do an episode on her today. So, I'll be representing Marvel Comics' Red She-Hulk. Alright, now let's get into the brief origin story of Betty Ross, aka Red She-Hulk. Shall we? Okay. Betty Ross, daughter of Thunderbolt Ross, gets murdered by Abomination, and her father felt responsible as he released Abomination in order to get rid of the Hulk once and for all. Obviously, it didn't work out. After his daughter's death, he drank his misery away, and one day gets confronted at a bar by MODOK and the Leader, who offer him a chance to get his daughter back. He agrees to deal without knowing exactly all the details. MODOK and the Leader then siphon the Hulk's powers and transfer into another. At Death Valley Base, MODOK and the Leader have yet to explain to Ross what they plan to do with his Gamma, and discovers too late that they plan to create a new Hulk. They started with General Ross as Red Hulk, and not knowing that his daughter was already back to life, he was also shocked to discover she was infused with the Hulk's Gamma, creating the Red She-Hulk. And that is the brief origin story of Betty Ross, aka Red She-Hulk. Now let's get into the powers, abilities, and feats. Alright. Super strength, energy absorption, unarmed combat, acid, saliva and blood, physical endurance, marksmanship, martial arts, and this is according to the comicvine.gamespot.com. Able to break, and here are some of the feats. Able to break a hold from the mighty Thor himself. Can lift up to 75 tons. Throw an entire tank by herself. She can one punch dead a super soldier. She broke the legs holding a bridge with her raw strength. Punching Doc Green out of his house. Ripped Abomination's throat. Punched herself back to her own dimension. Now that's an impressive feat. Able to use a giant-sized cannon gun as a weapon. Able to counter attacks from Wolverine. She can jump 2 miles. Hold a tentacles of a giant kraken. She can absorb energy. And this is according to Ivan the Unstoppable channel on YouTube. Alright, so let's talk about the endgame. Well, for one thing, let's talk about the Karma Electra. I'm about to say Karma Electra. Electra's weapon that is made out of steel that can penetrate anything. It comes in handy in a fight against someone who probably thinks it wouldn't be... Well, I don't think Grundy's obviously going to think what's going to happen when there's a weapon coming at him, but at least she can use that weapon to do some damage, cut him here and there, maybe jam it into his eye socket. Now, another thing, if Grundy, let's say, they get into a brawl and he happens to bust her lip or anything like that, remember, her blood or her saliva is made out of acid. So with surprise elements, she could throw it in his face. Might cause some temporary damage, might cause a temporary amount of time, or it might be some damage that might take some time to be recovered. Obviously, acid is a very difficult thing to just heal from right away, especially if it's still disintegrating inside your body or right into your face. And then the other thing I'll add on is the energy absorption ability, which comes in handy. Now, the reason I mention this is because Solomon Grundy has a gray source, and Red She-Hulk might be able to absorb that energy and use it to her own advantage, which she can. She's very tolerable when it comes to absorbing certain particular energies to a limit. So I do believe that she could probably absorb Solomon Grundy's powers during a fight and then use it to her own advantage in that kind of way. Alright, so let's add on to that. Red She-Hulk, I believe, has a weapon from Domino. It's a giant gun that she can use to blast Solomon Grundy during a fight, maybe cause some distance or maybe do at least some work into him. Intelligence in a fight is going to be kind of crucial, considering the fact that Solomon Grundy isn't really that bright. In any interpretation of the comics, he isn't really considered like a super genius. Red She-Hulk, however, does have informative intelligence. Strategically, she has military-based combat skills. So for her, she could come up with a plan to either slow him down or take him apart little by little, or find a trap to put him and set him up in that kind of way. On top of that, let's talk about a face-to-face or fist-to-fist on brawl. She's more likely to be able to handle herself against Solomon Grundy, since Solomon Grundy isn't known as a tactical fighter. Red She-Hulk, however, is known as a tactical fighter, plus her brute strength. That's going to come in handy against someone like Solomon Grundy. Okay, 3 more points I'll add into this situation. Her healing factor is very, very, very special, and I do believe against Solomon Grundy, if you keep him away from the Slaughter Swamp, she is most likely going to be able to beat him at some point. Her healing factor is going to really come in handy during a fight against this particular character, considering Solomon Grundy isn't very strong after a certain amount of limits. If he was in Slaughter Swamp, whole different story, but away from it, a long period of time, I do believe Red She-Hulk would be able to throw down with Solomon Grundy, using her healing factor to keep her going throughout the fight. Also, just to add to the healing factor, dynamic, I would think gamma environment would come in handy. If she was somewhere in a toxic radiation environment or gamma radiation environment, fighting Solomon Grundy, having much more of a home field advantage compared to him. I don't think radiation does anything to him, or gamma radiation. But for Red She-Hulk, that's her bread and butter. She can absorb it, gain more strength, more power, and be able to take the advantage or take the upper hand over him at one point during a fight, or rip him apart, because obviously he's not going to be able to take out a red steroid out She-Hulk. And the last point I'll make is the wild card of the century is, since she was able to punch herself back into a dimension, isn't there a very slight possibility that she'll be able to punch some character out of a dimension? I think that if she wanted to, really, if she thought she couldn't handle Solomon Grundy and she really wanted to use the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys, I think she could punch him to a different dimension, throw him in there, and claim victory on this end. Alright, now, I'll be representing on this end DC Comics' own Solomon Grundy. Alright, so let's get into the brief origin story of Solomon Grundy. He began as a 19th century merchant named Cyrus Gold. In 1894, his dubious dealing caught up with him, and he was left for dead in an area near Gotham City called Slaughter Swamp. Reanimated after 50 years, the part man/part swamp creature had few memories of his other life. One of the few things he could recall was that he was born on a Monday. Recognizing the phrase from an English nursery rhyme, a group of transients, sorry, I said that wrong, dubbed him Solomon Grundy. He took to it immediately, and that is a brief origin story of Solomon Grundy. I always butcher at the end, and this is according to the editorial.rottentomatoes.com. Alright, now let's get into the powers, abilities, and feats. There isn't really much. I might add more from other videos, but we'll see. He has healing factor and he has super strength. That's pretty much Solomon Grundy's He doesn't have intelligence. He can come back from the dead, resurrection, but that's pretty much it. And he can channel certain energies from certain parts of certain sources, but it's not exactly from the green life. So here are his feats. Now this is where it gets interesting. Grundy can lift trees and people like nothing. Bulletproof, old school comics, able to handle the lasso of truth. Defeated Dr. Fate at one point. He can break a vault, defeated Alan Scott's Green Lantern, withstand the Canary Cry, blitz the Flash, at one point even overpowered the Man of Steel himself, defeated Swamp Thing in one battle, held his own against the Marvel family, fought at the same time Stargirl, Shazam, and Stripe, took a blast from Etrigan, broke Bane's back. He one point possesses the power of the Gray. With that, he grants him speed, like healing abilities, and much more of a power-up than normal Grundy. The green brings life, but the gray takes energy from life. He gets his source from the swamp. He was murdered and it's called Slaughter Swamp. Knocked out Wonder Woman, this is interesting, knocked out Wonder Woman, Jake Garrett's Flash, and Alan Scott's Green Lantern, and then carried their bodies like nothing after the battle. Alright, so let's talk about the end game. For starters, it usually takes more than one person to defeat Solomon Grundy. It's never just one person who could take it. Sometimes like you have to be a cosmic level being like Superman to be able to handle Solomon Grundy, but other times usually it needs to be more than a few guys to handle him. It's not just one particular person. Another thing is his strength comes from magic. So the magic base wise, he might be able to power the scientific part of the formula of what Red She-Hulk is. Maybe his magic will be greater than hers. I mean, he was able to reanimate after 50 years. I mean, that kind of magic has got to be some kind of level of top tier. And another thing is an impressive healing factor. I mean, he could get into a whole fight with Red She-Hulk. Even if he beats the snot at him, he can just keep recovering his body, recovering, just keep throwing down with her. And he still has his strength on his side. Okay, and the other couple points I'll make, maybe like the two final points, because with Solomon Grundy and Red She-Hulk, there isn't a lot you can make for Solomon Grundy's case, because intelligence-wise, he can't really outsmart her. Strength-wise, he might be able to match up with her, but if she happens to outsmart him or take him to a different environment, it's a whole different game. That being said, let's talk about the two arguments I wanted to mention. And one is the fact that he took a hit from Atragon. Atragon or Atragon, I can't remember how to say it. Hopefully I'm saying it right. His powers is incredible. It's one of those top tier level characters, which if you take a hit from him, it's no small feat. So if he gets any kind of damage from Red She-Hulk, it wouldn't be he's shown that he can take a pain tolerance, or he can take punishment from top tier characters. And the last point I'll make is obviously the Slaughter Swamp environment. I never got to mention it before, but there was a possibility that Solomon Grundy would be able to defeat Red She-Hulk or anybody if he was at the home field advantage, considering Slaughter Swamp gives him the gray source matter, and it gives him the ability to use that power and keep channeling and get stronger and stronger. He never stops. He's defeated people characters like Atragon, Swamp Thing, and I believe Superman. My apologies. He defeated also Dr. Fate in that home field advantage. So I do believe put yourself, Red She-Hulk, in that environment, in the Slaughter Swamp against him. She's never going to be able to put him down. There's no gamma radiation there. There's a special type of magic there, but it's no gamma. So for Solomon Grundy, it would be the home field advantage that would give him the upper advantage. Regardless of his intelligence, it won't mean anything, because strength is going to be the reason why he can keep her there and overpower her, put her down, keep her from leaving, and keep throwing down with her. And she gives in and claim victory on this end and claim another victim. It's Slaughter Swamp. And as always, no press fam, it's not up to me, it's up to you guys. So if you guys like my argument, you know what you can do? You can either hashtag Red She-Hulk, or you can hashtag Solomon Grundy. And as always, no press fam, we really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys later. Peace.